Humanitarianism is a concern for human welfare. This conference is a conference promoting people and change for people. As social activists, you've already taken the first step, which is realizing that there is a problem in our world. However, you maybe haven't perhaps expanded on how much of a problem there is. Now, to start out, I'm going to give you a few facts. Now, the GDP of the poorest 48 nations countries is less than the wealth of the world's 3 richest people combined. 20% of the world's population consumes 86% of the world's goods. And that means that 80% of the world's population consumes 14%. Now, 80% of the population has $6 billion for education. And this is just to put it into perspective. 20% spends $6 billion on cosmetics. Now, one more just to throw out there. This one is one of the most stunning facts. Every 6 seconds, $220,000 is spent on military forces. Every 6 seconds, a child in the global south dies of malnutrition. Why does this matter? Let's go back to humanitarianism. Nobody wants a child to starve, but who knows how to stop it? We are here to explain different methods of implementing social action. Now, whether you're an activist operating on your own, or perhaps a startup nonprofit, or maybe you're already at the top, we have advice for you. We at the 2013 Calling All Humans Convention. My name is Sarah Katona, and I am also the convention coordinator. And first, I would like to start off with introducing our wonderful panelists. We have Zach Silverman, who is a youth outreach expert. He's on the end. Then we have Abril Hernandez, who is a social media outreach expert. And then we have Samantha Salas, who is a financial outreach expert. They're going to say a little bit more about themselves. Would you like to start, Samantha?
Yes. Hi, my name is Samantha Salas, and I work at the microfinance department at the International Monetary Fund, which is a group organized of about 200 countries that work to strive for global stability. So at the IMF, I work to offer microloans. So what are microloans? Microloans are about $5 to $20 loans handed out to people in rural areas or impoverished areas so they can kickstart their own organization when they didn't have the funds to do so. So for example, we may hand out $20 to a young girl who wants to start her own cloth business. So with the $20, she can buy herself a sewing machine and sew materials so she can pursue her business and help stimulate her local economy. As of right now, we currently fund 400 to 500 million people around the globe, including the Philippines, South America, and Africa, and we hope to fund more people as nonprofit charities and other organizations support the IMF in our pursuit of stabilizing the financial crisis.
Thank you very much. We are now going to be shortening, I don't know if you guys caught on, the International Monetary Fund. We will be shortening that to IMF, for those of you who are not well known with that. Samantha has she's come under a lot of pressure being so high up in the IMF because there have been a lot of negative connotations belonging to that, with the Bolivian water crisis, which kind of made it seem like privatization is not a good idea, which here in America we think that is a very different subject. The financial contagion that happened in Asia, and at the same time there have been stupendous advances made with microloans. A bestseller, Half the Sky, it's blown people's minds with what the IMF has been able to accomplish with entrepreneurship. Thank you very much, and we will get into more of that later on, but next I would like to introduce Abril Hernandez.
Hi, my name is Abril Hernandez, and I am a BuzzFeed editor and journalist at the BuzzFeed website. And I write and report stories involving social media, contributing to nonprofit organizations, and contributing to charity as well. Using social media, companies have also reached out and connected to people aware the social issues out there and how they can contribute and help towards these issues, and have a faster and more knowledgeable way to connect these people through social media.
Again, thank you very much, Abril. This is something that comes up in everyday life. You go back and think about social media and how it's affected people in the past with Hurricane Katrina. You might think about minimally, but more so Kony 2012. It raises questions such as, which is more important, awareness or action? It raises questions, and you have Haiti, who they've now made over $5 billion through text messaging. How much is media influencing our lives? Haiti gained more money through these texts than the awareness for Hurricane Katrina. And that's also something that hopefully will come up during this panel. But next off, we're going to go to Zach Silverman.
All right, thanks, Sarah. My name is Zach Silverman, and I am the CEO at the Child's Play charity. The whole point of Child's Play is to ease the suffering and strain of a long-term hospitalization of a child and their family by providing gifts of video games, toys, books, and many more other ways of entertaining the kid in his long stay. We now have partnered up with over 90 children's hospitals around the world, and we help them by having the kids write a wish list through Amazon.com. And then donators can either give us money or buy items on these lists that we can then send to the kids. Last year, we had a goal of raising $2.5 million, and we ended up doubling that in just 1 year, with over $5 million raised. We are a huge organization that, like I said, we're all around the world in several continents, and I hope to explain more about outreaching to children and other youth organizations in this panel.
Thank you very much. Zach is one that earlier I hit upon. You know, you can be here if you are an up-and-coming nonprofit or if you're already at the top, and Zach hit it spot on. Over $5 million raised in 2012. He is the purest example, perhaps, of scope. Dinners, auctions, partnerships. He's done it all. He's also come under criticism, which again, it might come up later, that for his video games with children perhaps being dangerous for children, or perhaps coming up, again, the awareness these children need something while they're in their hospitals versus what are you giving them? Like, is this too much? All very interesting topics, and I mean, just the last thing is he, since 2003, has helped to open this organization up in 70 hospitals, which is just something that, like I said, at the top. Thank you very much for that introduction. Really quickly, I would just like to say we are going to field questions as they come. It's going to go by pretty lax. If you just raise your hand, then I'll take them as they come. But if it doesn't follow like under the umbrella of what we're talking about at the time, we will also have a time at the very end that you can bring up anything that you'd like, anything at all really. So with that, if there are no questions to begin, I am going to start off by asking the first question. This is open to anyone. Social issues. What do you think is the most pertinent social issue in today's society?
That's a great question. Obviously, I work a lot with children, and we target children mostly because we think that can do the most help in the world. We think that starting with the children, you can influence their lives and give them a better life and future for years down the line, whereas working with adults, they statistically don't have as much time, and help just is even more helpful for people that have more time.
I would just like to add to that. There's so many social issues that we are aware of, but yet we have not taken so much action to do something about them. So the most, I think, is environmental social issue, which is what would we be today without the environment that surrounds us? And it could help through many things. It could help through poverty. It could help through our own lifestyle. It's just a big awareness that we have, but we have to take action to help the environment and the causes that give to our future later on.
going with what Abu said, most people don't really advocate for support for outreach because what I believe is that most people don't know what to do or what is going on. Since I work with the IMF, I know more about the financial economic crisis in other countries. However, I feel that more people are beginning to know more about what is going on around the world and how this directly affects us. So even though we're not a part, or we're not over there or experiencing the type of poverty they are, it does affect us in terms of economy and the global trade. So I personally feel, going with your question, that I think poverty and global stability is one of the biggest things we should focus on.
Thank you very much for that. Those were all wonderful answers. I know that it's kind of hard because it really is subjective. The next question is going to be a little bit more solid, and that is, can social outreach happen if you don't have monetary means?
You know, with Child's Play, we try to, one of the reasons we do the gift lists is so that people can pay what they can afford. You know, they can donate what they can to the cause. Unfortunately, you do need money to help people to a certain extent. We do need to buy supplies. We do need to help get those supplies to the hospitals. Money is very important, but there's always things you can do without it. You can always manual labor, donate your time to a cause. You know, our staff is 100% volunteers, which lets us give all of our money we can raise directly to the hospitals and the children.
And do you have volunteers at your charity? I mean, are they funded, the people who work for you?
All of our people that work at Child's Play are volunteering their time, including me.
I'd like to add to that. The way social media has actually affected this is that only a simple click of a button can actually make a difference. I did a story about DoSomething.org that they reach out to students that are going as incoming freshmen in colleges, and they promote a free entry to a scholarship just by clicking a button that would give $25 as a free loan to actually a similar monetary fund. And that would help give that social issue, they will give help to them just by someone that gives the awareness and knows now of that the monetary fund, how they can help out later. So just by a simple entry to scholarship is just the social media connecting to the person, to the issue, and then later on we'll reconnect to that and get more outreach later on.
So you would say that caring counts more?
Okay, so I have to disagree with my fellow panel members that money is not needed to help out, especially in financial outreach. In the IMF, we provide a group lending program, which is, instead of offering money to one individual person, we offer it to a group of people. So it could be 2 to 6 people in a group. And although one person may be starting the organization, the benefit of having more people in a group instead of an individual person is that other people help the person pay back the loan. So, for example, if someone is about to miss their payment, another person in the group might even pitch in to help pay the payment so they will not have to pay a late loan. Or maybe they encourage someone to pay it early, so next time they apply for a loan, they can apply for a bigger loan than they already had. And the IMF also provides technical assistance in its member countries, such as trainings for financial and fiscal policies, so they can help third world countries establish a secure financial standpoint.
You mentioned a lot about third world countries. I know that Zach's Child's Play, he said that it goes across nations, but I think it's mostly based in America. And a lot of the work that Abril does is also based in America. Would you say that IMF takes a large part in America, or it's not necessary now?
Going with your question, Sarah, the IMF at first in the 1970s, he used to offer more support to industrial countries such as the US, but over time, the need has grown more in different areas of the world. So now Americans don't need the IMF as much as third world countries. So that is why right now we're focusing on the Middle East and South Africa and South America.
Thank you very much. That's quite interesting. The next question I have is one that all of you are probably thinking about, and that is, can we make a difference being an individual, or do we have to have some sort of community standing?
I absolutely think that we can make a difference as an individual. Abril was talking about the internet and how easy it is now. It's truly inspiring how easy it is to help out, literally with 2 clicks of a mouse. You can donate money, you can send a gift to a children in a hospital. Anyone can make a difference in a matter of seconds. And our company started with just a few people. It was nothing big, and in our first year we raised $150,000. We've come a long way, but we had a good first year, and that was just with a few individuals.
Would you like to add that to me?
I would like to add to that. I think as an individual you can help out a lot, but I think it's more rewarding and more fun to be in a group. Just as what Abril was saying, that with individually you can help out just by doing social outreach. So you don't even have to get out of your house to actually help someone in America or in another part of the world. But I feel that with the new generation coming up, more people want to volunteer as a group, so they don't feel as maybe shy that they're going out to do community service. But overall, I think that group efforts are, in fact, more fun.
Would you say that there's volunteer work for IMF?
There are volunteer efforts in IMF. So as I was saying before, there's the technical assistant. So in our organization in the Philippines, we're starting to enable technology into our organization, but most people in the Philippines don't know how to utilize technology as well as people do it here in America. So part of the volunteer work is helping and going out to different parts of the country to help teach people how to implement technology so that they don't have to go out of their way to meet with one of our financial advisors to take out a loan. Instead, they can just go to a center and make the loan there. That might be closer to where they live.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a question on that regard. If you're really working with third world countries, they don't have electricity. I mean, you're talking about technology and about the use of computers and that sort of thing. They don't have any. They don't have access to it.
All right,
So
so
how do you deal with that?
Thank you. The question is, how do you deal with third world countries if they don't have the technology that you're speaking of?
That is a big problem, the lack of technology, but as the IMF, we're trying to create more centers and industries that are more locally based. So even though people might not have technology in their home, they can probably walk a bit or take a ride with someone to approximately not that far, maybe in a nearby larger city, so that they can actually take out a loan.
Thank you. That's what I know. A lot of developing countries are beginning to get aid and just different help that have actual community centers where they just have computers set up. So it's really interesting how different technological companies are attempting to help developing countries. I mean, you'd think throwing a couple computers to them would seem, to us, it's like, what, you have one building for 5 computers? But to them, it's something that, that's what you do on a weekend. That's when you pick your time and you go to the computer so that you can look at your money in a foreign country. I just think that's very interesting. I'm sure that Abril would have something to say about that because technology is kind of what you're here for.
Yes, I think my fellow panelists have a good point that individuals can give more of an outreach, but I think it's more of individuals combining into a community, because as one of my stories I wrote was about the Disney's Friends for Change. They reach out to many kids out there, awareing them about the environmental issues or social issues between individuals about like bullying or help that they need with their schools. So they reach out through social media to these kids and bring them together into one community so they can help serve into a big project that have, as a community, making a bigger difference that they would have had doing it alone. So I think it could go either way, but my opinion is more about being a bigger community, making a bigger difference.
Yeah, I talked a lot about an individual being able to help, which I stand by. However, working together, even with not just with other people, but with other companies, always warrants more success. Child's Play in 2010 teamed up with Epic Games, which is the development company that creates the game Gears of War. And we did a sort of a weird fundraiser called the Fate of Carmine campaign, which people could buy a t-shirt that either said Save Carmine or Kill Carmine, and whichever shirt was bought more, that was the fate of that character in the game, this character named Carmine. It ended up raising $150,000 for our organization, and we're still very thankful for Epic Games. And we were able to cooperate and do some serious good.
Did you kill Carmine?
We did end up killing Carmine.
I like how that relates, but also I feel as if that might come up with what I was speaking about earlier during introductions, was the criticism that you kind of come under for talking about that kill versus save. That's something that whenever you're giving things to children, you don't really want to hear, like, oh, while you're sitting in the hospital, you can kill someone. Like, I mean, what have you done to deal with that?
That's a great question, and our whole organization was really inspired by this stigma of video games. We're all gamers that work here, and we get a lot of backlash with that, but we've proven here that that's not the case. Gamers, anyone can come together and do good, no matter who they are. And that's what we do, is we give kids, video games bring people together. Kids play together with their peers, both in the hospital and out of the hospital. It gives them something to do while they're in the hospital, while they're there for so long. And we think that trumps any kind of violence that supposedly influences these kids. But really, all the studies have shown that video games do not have that kind of influence on kids, even in these situations.
Yes?
For Zach, I have a question of, we were on the topic of social media, and now we're entertaining the topic of how that may have, I guess, threatened your business a little bit in the negative views of your business. How did you guys, I guess, clean up your reputation, or I guess like acknowledge or face those that poor reputation while still focusing on like giving back and raising awareness and raising money?
All right, so the question is, how do you deal with the negative connotation that came with the more crude aspects of your video games?
We raised $17 million for children. That's how.
Touche. All right. Does anybody else have anything to add to that? No? All right, then. With that, I do believe I would like to... Oh,
I'm
yes.
sorry. Have you finished with all your questions?
No, I'm about to open it up.
Sorry.
So, that's all right. If you'd like to ask now, you can.
Oh, okay. In the introduction, you mentioned the Bolivian water crisis, but no one on the panel really covered that. Would you care to maybe expand upon that?
Oh, yes, I would love to. This might make a little bit more sense after I kind of summarize what we've gone through already, but I will address that now. The Bolivian water crisis was something that IMF, unless I'll allow you to expand upon this after I'm finished, since the question was directed at me, I'll rephrase it too. It was, what is up with the Bolivian water crisis? What happened there? Why does it matter here? The Bolivian water crisis people gave funds to the people, well, the IMF, I apologize, IMF gave funds to the people of Bolivia pretty much. It was a few $1 million in order to kind of help them out. And they said, well, you know, we're in crisis. Our economy is very bad right now. What can we do? So IMF told them privatize things, privatize companies. And Bolivia, they attempted to privatize water. However, whenever the company came in, they were not allowed, or they were not able to meet the demands. Therefore, the citizens couldn't afford water. So that was just an example of how sometimes social outreach, I mean, it's not always perfect. And that's something that Zach was talking about earlier, that, you know, he helps with $17 million. He helps with money to all these children, but at the same time, he's going to get criticized for it. You know, you might be doing a good thing, you might be helping children, saving lives, but it's not always going to seem like you're the hero. If that answered your question. And would you like to add anything?
Yes, the IMF has been working to avoid future problems. So one of our mission statements is that we help member countries avoid disruptive economic adjustments. So what that means is that we try preventing future outbreaks. So although we couldn't prevent the Bolivian water crisis, we hope that this was a learning experience so that next time we'll be able to have the funds to prevent something similar from happening in the future. And then as of right now, we're still helping them with funds.
And Bro, would you say there's anything IMF could do anymore? I mean, for social outreach, is there a way to kind of have a motto that says, we are trying to help, but that doesn't mean that we're going to always be perfect?
Well, excellent question. It's just a matter of connecting and awareness. It's just not always going to be perfect, but it's the matter of it's the importance of knowing that it's not going to be always right, but try and help out anyways.
And I know I brought you in a little bit, Zach. Would you like to add anything?
I don't think I have anything more that would add to this question. I think.
All right. Thank you very much. And I hope that I answered your question.
Yeah.
All right, so today what we went over was social issues. Which one do these people find important? They might not be the same ones that you find important, and that's okay. I mean, we heard children are an important social issue. We heard the environment is an important social issue. We heard that poverty is important. The thing is that you have to find what you are passionate about, and that's what you go for outreach. We talked about social outreach. We talked about how singular people can do that and how money does matter, but if you're a single person attempting to do something and you're not a company who has funds, you can go out there and volunteer. You can do whatever needs done. It's the fact that you care enough to do something. That's what matters the most. And then we did segue into criticism of social outreach. It's not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to appear to be the knight in shining armor, and that's okay too, because you're doing it to help other people and not to help yourself or your own self-image. That would be all for the summary. I would like to take any questions now, if anybody has. Yes?
I have a question for Samantha. As the IMF, during the Bolivian water crisis, they gave money to Bolivia, and by saying that they had to privatize the water, could you please explain what the IMF is trying to do now as to clean the slate, because the IMF was judged very harshly in terms of the privatization of the Bolivian water?
All right, so the question is, because of the water crisis, IMF took some intense heat for that. What are you trying to do in order to make up for that?
So that is a very good question, but although I'm not directly linked to the Bolivian water crisis, since I work more in our section of Philippines and South America and Africa, I do know, however, that the IMF is still trying to work Bolivia into its part of its member countries. So we still offer them the three things we offer all our countries in terms of global economic stability. So we give them financial advice, as well as we give them funds, and any surveillance, and our main priority is surveillance, so checking to see how they're currently doing in terms of their economic stability. So although the balloon water crisis may not have gone as we planned it had gone, we're still offering them our assistance in the ways we normally carry out our business.
All right, well, if there are no other questions, I would just like to say thank you again. And please remember that no matter who you are, no matter what you do, you absolutely, positively do have the power to change the life of someone. Maybe just one, maybe multiple people, but you do have the power. Thank you.